I couldn't find the ship piece before, but now we have more spark. Wait, was that not the ship piece? I can use this to boost power to our sensor. It should allow me to find it now. Wait, was that not the final boss? Wait, did you bait me? Wait, just give me 1 second here. Oh, no, no. Who is a good boy? Captain Olima, I don't mean to upset you. Please try to stay calm. In those, I was just yelling. Good news first. I've located the ship piece. Must have fallen off during the crash. And now for the bad news. I'm picking up on the readings of an immense creature in the same place. That wasn't the final boss. It was a jebait. Unfortunately, there's no way to go home without collecting that ship piece. We just got like a big car battery, though. Good luck, Captain Olimar. Please come back safe. It jebaited me. What? The final Okay, you're mad now. You don't like being jebaited. There isn't even an overworld here. I just click the section and we're immediately going into a level. Wait. Faceplant. Wait, every single world up to this point, we've had like an overworld and a level select. This world, I just clicked the world and it immediately put me into a... What? Is it just a series of levels up until the end? We're not done yet. What the heck? Oh, maybe it is just the final boss. It's not a level. Wait. Wait, what? There's a true final boss? What is this? It's Plantera? Yo! 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 Of all the games to debate you with a fake final boss and then the real final boss, let me tell you, I was not expecting Hey Pikmin to be one of those kinds of games. Who expects a game like Hey Pikmin to be one of those kinds of games that debates you with a fake final boss and then a real final boss? Ugh. Oh my goodness. I most certainly did not see it coming. What the heck? That was a mistake. Why did I do that? Oh my goodness. What, do you have to do all 3 bosses? What, like all the bosses of all 3 games? Imagine. What? Imagine fighting the freaking... I've already forgotten the name of it. The Emperor Bullblacks and then the... What's the... name of the final boss of Pikmin 2? I forget. And then the Plasm Wraith from Pikmin 3. This reminds me of the Armored Maudad from Pikmin 3. Is what this sort of reminds me of. It's like the Armored Maudad's weird cousin. What the hell? Oh no! Wait, do I throw Pikmin at the underside of its feet? What is this and why is it epic? Woo! Okay, I can probably keep throwing, most likely. Yo! Okay, yeah, you have to keep throwing. And then it... Oh no. Ah! Oh, I was about to abandon mission there. Destabilize it. Oh, hold on. Damage it there. Yo, okay, it has like a little smidge of health left. It just has the tiniest little smidge. I don't know what I was expecting from Hey Pikmin, but it wasn't this. What the heck? Okay. Come on! Okay, that's a 1 foot. This game just got so much better. It really did, didn't it? Come on! Ah! Come on. Okay. And then we smack its head, and this should be the last little bit of health. Yes. So that's it, right? Okay. Yo. Yo. Are you gonna regurgitate the ship part? Is that what's about to happen? It has a third phase! I thought we won and it was about to regurgitate the ship part. It has a new health bar! Yo, what is this? What the? Am I doing things with this? Yo. Hello, Cam. How are you doing today? Come on. Okay, so it's still only the head that we can actually, like, damage his health to. What the heck? Oh, come on. What? I don't know what kind of game I was expecting Hey Pikmin to be. But it is freaking poison lasers. What the heck? Like, it's hitting it here. Okay, and that gets it to do this. Okay. Oh, it does multiple now. Come on, is this it? A 3-phase boss in a Pikmin game. My goodness. Okay, that's it. Okay, now we get the 4th phase. Imagine the phases just don't end and you just keep doing more and more phases for like 2 hours. No, don't be a 4th phase. What is it? Is it another form of the Plasm Wraith? Because, like, there's theories that, you know, that the Plasm Wraith might have been present in all 3 Pikmin games and trying to keep Olimar on the planet. Is this another form of it that tried to keep Olimar on the planet? That might actually be it. Okay, it's not another phase, but, like, it could just be, like, the next form of the Plasm Wraith, actually. From Pikmin 3 as the final boss, Pikmin 2 as a different boss, and then Pikmin 1 as a generic enemy that a lot of people theorize is close to the... Hey! All one last thing. Like, the Plasm Wraith, this creature, is similar to the Umibozu, I believe it's called, in Japanese folklore, that, like, doesn't want shipwrecked sailors to, like, leave an island or something like that. I don't quite remember. And it's similar to how this creature might be the one that's stranding Olimar on the planet. Great work, Captain Olimar. The ship part is ours. So the real final boss was a very plasmy kind of creature like that could have been the Plasm Wraith as well. Feel bad for the creature we had to take it from. So that same creature might be the reason that Olimar crash landed on the planet again, but at least the part itself seems to be intact. So that same creature may well have been present in all 4 Pikmin games. Now there's nothing stopping us from going back home to Hocketate and been the one that's drawing Olimar to this planet. Let's get that part in place so we can take off. That's very fascinating. Now the game is done. The Pikmin series is done. Well, unless they want to actually reveal Pikmin 4 already, which people have been waiting for since 2013, so 8 years. 8 years since Pikmin 3. The music's nice. Heck yeah. And gotcha, Frecky. Aww. Captain Olimar, it's time to head out. Oh, but you have to say bye to the Pikmin for the 4th time now. But yeah, unless this game was the Pikmin 4 that was in development that Miyamoto was talking about. But I mean... yeah, I certainly was not either expecting. At long last, we'll be home soon. I was not expecting this kind of game to have a final boss like that, you know? Oh, and they're going into the... is the onion gonna take off with us just like in the other Pikmin games? Oh, it is. What a throwback. To see us off. My goodness. Should I, like, full screen this? Goodbye, Pikmin, it says. Engaging warp in 5, 3, you skipped 4, 2, 1, and you just have to take my word that it skipped 4 because you don't get to see the bottom screen right now. Wow! What a freaking sleeper agent game. Is that the right term? Whereas, like, you don't expect it to be like that? What a freaking unexpected video game in so many ways. What the heck? When I first started playing this game, honestly, I hated it. When I first started playing this, I was like, okay, this is just a quick way to make a quick buck off of people who like Pikmin by making like a quick, easy to make 2D game on the 3DS and just making a quick buck off of that. And that's all that it really is what my initial impression was. I was like, wow, this is like so wonky, so basic. My goodness, what it developed into as time went on though. Like, okay, let's go through the different aspects of the game. Let's start out with gameplay. So, gameplay-wise, it started out very, very basic, and I didn't feel like I was ever managing as much as within, like, any of the Pikmin trilogy or anything like that. But the original Pikmin trilogy was always, like, these vast open areas that you have to, like, explore and, like, find things in. Whereas this was, like, preset levels. And you had to, like, you know, find the way from point A to point B, as opposed to having more, like, I wouldn't say Pikmin's an open world game, but it's open-ish. Adobe Acrobat DC was updated successfully. I don't know why you're telling me this right now, computer. So it was interesting to have that kind of format in, like, a platformer. It was like a platformer puzzle game, and that was very intriguing. I mean, the Pikmin games have already been puzzle games in a way anyway, but having a platformer puzzle game about using the touchscreen to throw around Pikmin was a very interesting kind of format for this kind of thing, and I found it very intriguing. And the ways in which, a lot of the time at least, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the game would show instead of tell. Olimar couldn't wait to get home to spend time with his family. And indeed, fate had plans for an intrepid captain, Pikmin 4. Teaser for Pikmin 4, a welcome sight snapped him out of his daydream. Well, thanks for everything, Pikmin. Aww. Oh. The end. Like, the way that, at least a lot of the time, the game would show you instead of tell you was a brilliant example of level design in video games. Like, the little cutscenes that would play several times throughout a level of, like, just the short little cutscenes of little charming things that were, you know, nice to laugh at or smile at and yada yada. Those would often be the things that showed you the main game mechanics of the level and the game in general. So you oftentimes didn't need, like, a dialogue box or something that says, oh, here's a thing that you can do, because you see it happen in these short little kind of, you know, funny kind of cutscenes that are really charming. You see it happening and it's like, oh, so that's a thing that I can do. And all of a sudden the game has shown you instead of told you, which I think is really, really fascinating game design. And this game did, like, a really awesome job of it. Sometimes, not all the time. The ship was pretty annoying when it was like, oh, something has happened in the Pikmin park. Oh, the Pikmin have found something. Oh, let's watch the Pikmin reuniting in the Pikmin park, like, all the time. Like, stuff like that got pretty annoying. But generally within the levels, the way that it would show you the game mechanics instead of telling you, like, the main game mechanics, it very rarely told you things, apart from, like, the very, very beginning. All the, like, mechanics throughout, like, the rest of the levels, I think there was one exception where the ship told you after a cutscene showed it. I guess because maybe playtesters didn't think it was clear enough or something like that. But the way that it showed you all the mechanics was really fascinating. Like, for example, levels where you could have the Pikmin just, like, chill out by bouncing on the little dandelion-looking plants. It would show this to you by showing a cutscene of them running up to the plants and starting to bounce on it. And it's like, okay, I can throw them onto the plants to get them to chill the hell out if I need to, like, leave them be and go do something else. Or if I need to, like, cross a gap and then call them over from the other side. It was a fantastic way of showing instead of telling, and I thought that was great. Music. I would say that a lot of a lot of the areas were just kind of par, like the themes kind of blended in, and it's like, okay, it gets the job done, but isn't anything that's like really fantastic. But there were some themes that stood out where it's like, whoa, that's really good. Like the areas with like the Lonely Tower, for example, it was like, wow, this is so relaxing. So there were definitely some standout themes. I don't think the music in general stood out like a massive ton, but there were some pretty good themes in there. Story, well, it's a typical kind of Pikmin story. I mean, Pikmin, it's basically the exact same story as Pikmin 1. Olimar crash lands on the planet and needs to recover stuff to escape the planet. It's literally the exact same story as Pikmin 1. So the story here isn't exactly anything to write about. Like, the main appeal of Pikmin's story within 2 and 3 was its lore. Like, it was never anything like super crazy plot development, character development kind of plot-wise, but its lore was fascinating. Like, how you go through the first half of Pikmin 2 with Olimar and Louis, and then after you get like the initial credits, the fake credits essentially first. Well, I guess it's the real credits. You've sort of beaten the game. Pikmin 2 is another game that debates you into thinking that you've beaten it when you haven't. After you get the credits and you realize that Olimar forgot Louis on the planet, and then you return back to the planet to track down Louis, and then Louis turns out to be the final boss who's hijacked the brain of the Titan Dweevil. I just remembered the name of it. It's honestly fascinating, and you recover him and he makes you refer to him as like the king of bugs and whatnot, and it's like, whoa, the lore and like backstory here is freaking crazy. And then like the way that Pikmin 3 has you play as a completely different group of explorers, but still encounter Olimar and Louis, and you know, develop that kind of lore and the kind of plot line with the Plasm Wraith, or the Umibozu of what it's probably based off of, wanting to keep Olimar on the planet and not let him go, was really fascinating. Pikmin has some very fascinating lore behind it. Like, one of the coolest parts of Pikmin lore is that it's very heavily implied to be like Earth in the far, far, far future after like some sort of cataclysmic event, considering all the treasure that we're always recovering. All the treasure we recover and all the fruit that we recover across the series is all stuff from Earth, a lot of which is also references to other Nintendo stuff. Like in Pikmin 2 and this game, you retrieve a lot of old Pikmin games and a lot of, not old Pikmin games, old Nintendo games and a lot of old Nintendo consoles, which is a really cool and charming kind of touch. As like earlier this session, I was like, whoa, is that Wario Land? And such. Things like that, where it's really cool to, you know, see stuff that you recognize and see those kinds of throwbacks. I do feel like one of the best parts of this game was the charm of the world. Like, the little cutscenes that would happen throughout each level really helped it be like a charming experience. It would put a smile on your face by being like, oh, that's cute, isn't it? And so it was definitely very, very charming in that way that I quite liked. I'm actually gonna go ahead and go into configure my emulation settings and turn off the game audio for a hot second and turn on other music so I can like rant easier and such. Let's listen to some Scarblown music. Music is what we can do. I thought that it was like hella charming and stuff. And Pikmin is one of those game series that's always been charming in like several ways, with like the Pikmin themselves, the items that you collect, and like all the different other Nintendo references that are in there. Like, one of my favorite references that was in this game was how like the second or third boss of this game was literally a direct boss, like directly taken from Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And then the treasure that you got for defeating that boss was like an old Legend of Zelda game or something like that. Like, it was a really, really cool touch that makes you go like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, I experienced playing this boss in Link's Awakening. Am I dropping frames? It should be okay. It might just be your end. I don't think the stream is dropping frames, at least I hope so. But yeah, there's moments like that. This was really cool to watch. I'm glad you liked it, Oh Witchy Woman. Like, in general, when I first started playing this game, Hey Pikmin, after having experienced the last 3 Pikmin games in order over the last several months of Pikmin 1, 2, and 3, I honestly hated this game at first. I was like, what the heck is this? Why is it 2D now? Why is it like these preset levels that are like gross and stuff? But as it went on, it like really grew on me. This game was like such a turnaround for me. It's wild watching him play and get and lose Pikmin. Wait, what? What? But this was like literally the definition of a turnaround game for me. It's been a while since I've had a game be like that. I'm kind of hoping that Bravely Default 2 winds up being like that, because I don't have the best impression of it right now. Like, I went into Hey Pikmin with a kind of bad impression, but at the end of it, like, I still will enjoy playing Pikmin 1, 2, or 3 more than playing Hey Pikmin, honestly. Like, I do enjoy the overall kind of feel of, like, the classic Pikmin experience in that 3D environment. But this game does honestly stand strong on its own. It has its own unique charm to it, and I honestly do think that it is a worthwhile title in the Pikmin series. I just think that we need an actual Pikmin 4 already. This is what we need. This is not a Pikmin 4. We need a real Pikmin 4 one of these days, hopefully. They said it was development back in 2015, and there's been literally no news since then. So I don't know if development got scrapped or something. Man, if there's a... I hope that Pikmin 3 Deluxe coming to the Switch is a sign that, you know, Pikmin will hopefully be supported more in the future, and that we might have a Pikmin 4, but we'll see. But yeah, the bosses of this game were very fascinating. I do like how most of the bosses of this game were designed in such a way where it's like, okay, this is a boss that you can't fight and experience the same way within a 3D Pikmin environment, like Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 were. Like, all the bosses were, well, at least most of the bosses, I believe, were designed in such a way where it's like, this is a fight that you can only really experience in a 2D environment, this kind of boss, as opposed to a 3D environment with the other Pikmin games. Like the boss before the 7th world boss, for example, with the bomb rocks and such, I thought it was really interesting how you had to like switch between sides of him, switch between the 2D planes to like attack his front side and then attack his back side and such. I thought it was a really cool kind of thing. And this game very much feels like a love letter to the Pikmin series in a way. The Suckbug and final boss were really cool. Yeah, I also thought the dang it, why am I forgetting the name of it already? The Emperor Bullblacks, the final boss of Pikmin 1. Having that as the initial, like, final boss, I thought was really cool, where it's like, okay, you fought this dude as the final boss in Pikmin 1. You've probably fought him in Pikmin 2 as well, where he wasn't the final boss, but he was a boss that you encountered a few times throughout the story. And then all of a sudden you fight him as seemingly the final boss in this game, and it's like a throwback to this game's roots. It very much is a love letter to the Pikmin series in that way. And I thought that was a cool way to close it out. I was like, whoa, we beat the game. Isn't that a cool way to close it out? And then all of a sudden it's like, nope. You thought that, you know, taking the final boss from a different Pikmin game would be the final boss of this one, and we just ended at that. And then it pulled out the freaking craziest plant thing that... In terms of final bosses in Pikmin, you had the Emperor Bullblacks in Pikmin 1, which we saw in this game. The Titan Dweevil in Pikmin 2, which I showed earlier this stream, the freaking big spider thing. We had the Plasm Wraith, which was like a very plasma-y, golden-looking thing in Pikmin 3. And then we had the freaking crazy spider plant thing in this game that was initially in the ground and then came out with legs and then came out with wings in multiple phases. I honestly think that was like one of the craziest final, if not the craziest final boss in Pikmin history. The craziest final boss in the Pikmin series is either this or the Titan Dweevil in Pikmin 2, which was like freaking crazy big spider thing that was controlled by Louis that used all the different elements from throughout the adventure against you, which was a freaking crazy boss and kind of unfair in some ways. It was literally the hardest boss in the entire Pikmin series by a long shot. Like, my goodness, Pikmin 2 does not hold its player's hand. Pikmin 2 is a brutal game. But in terms of, like, craziest, coolest, most insane bosses in the Pikmin series, either the Titan Dweevil from Pikmin 2 or the Hey Pikmin boss here. Like, out of any game to bait you into thinking that you beat the game with, like, a fake final boss and then do, like, an even crazier final boss afterwards with multiple phases, a game like Hey Pikmin is not what I would expect to do that, you know? I did not see that coming at all. I thought that it was just the final boss of the first game as a cool throwback, and I was like, hey, what a cool way to end it off. And then it freaking throws a 3-phase insane plant creature at you where it ramps up the intensity with each form because it initially starts in the ground. It initially starts as a plant in the ground. And it's like, whoa, what is this crazy looking thing? And then all of a sudden for phase 2, it grows legs, gets up, and comes after you. And it's like, whoa, it moves now? And then you beat the second phase, and it looks like it died, and like various vines are withering and stuff. And it's like, okay, we beat it now that it got up and started moving. And then it grows wings, and it starts flying after you. And it's like, what the hell? It was so crazy. That was about like the least expected thing I could have expected from a game like Hey Pikmin to have as a final boss. I was expecting this game to be like a joke of an experience that was just, you know, meant to make a quick buck off of people who are super hungry for a Pikmin 4, just by like slapping it on the 3DS, making it something really easy and 2D, and just making like some quick money off of that, because screw making an actual dedicated Pikmin 4. But, and I mean, I do hope that a Pikmin 4 does actually happen. But what this game turned into was like such a love letter for the Pikmin series, and an interesting new way to experience Pikmin gameplay, honestly. Like, as I mentioned, I still enjoy the gameplay of the core Pikmin games over the spin-off, but this was honestly a fascinating new way to experience it. I would change a lot of things. I found it was too easy for Pikmin to die by, you know, getting tapped by one tiny little edge or the back of an enemy, and it's like, well, that Pikmin died, guess what, you probably don't have enough Pikmin to carry the last treasure now, or something like that. There were some situations like that really frustrated me. Like, there are definitely some little things like that I would change about this game were I in charge, but I honestly enjoyed that way more than I thought I would. That I wasn't expecting this to be a good game, honestly. The only reason I played it was so that I could have the entire Pikmin series, all of Pikmin, covered on this channel. But I started hating it at first, but as it went on, I honestly started really enjoying it. Like, I don't think it's like a masterpiece of a game or anything like that, or that's absolutely fantastic. But that was honestly a dang good game. That was honestly pretty solid. Like, I enjoyed that. That was very intriguing. That's kind of my review of the game, I guess. That's what I have to say about it. So I mean, yeah. Here we see him heading home to Planet Hocketate after finishing a delivery. That was fascinating. That was very interesting. I enjoyed that. I'm gonna close the thingamabob now. I think we might play a little bit of Bravely Default 2 still tonight, because, you know, that game is a game that hopefully will be like Hey Pikmin, where I dislike it at first and then I like it later. Oh look, you can see part of my Fire Emblem Awakening background bleeding through, because normally that wouldn't be off. Hey Pikmin was a game that I started out not really liking a whole lot, and then started really liking as it went on. I hope that that's the same for Bravely Default 2, because we haven't been off to a good start in that game. So we'll probably switch to that here shortly. But with that literally wraps up the Pikmin series on this channel. All 4 of the games have come out, which is crazy to think about. The entire series is done until they freaking release a Pikmin 4, hopefully. I mean, I've talked with Uneven and Chublima, who I played Pikmin 2 with, about potentially hopping into challenge mode at some point in Pikmin 2. So, like, it's possible that we might do some side stuff in some of the older games here and there at some point, but most likely that's the end of Pikmin on this channel, and it's kind of sad to see it go, honestly. Like, it's been an interesting half a year of playing these Pikmin games, and I've enjoyed my time with it. I really, really hope they make a Pikmin 4. My goodness. And that, you know, the development wasn't scrapped or something like that, since it was apparently in development at one point. So, yeah. I do hope that this series can continue one day. But as far as the current state of the Pikmin series in 2021 here, that's the end of the series. So, thanks all who stopped by and hung out for, like, the Pikmin series in general. It's been a long road that I've enjoyed. I hope y'all have enjoyed it as well. And that was a good conclusion. I honestly really enjoyed that. That was a very nice conclusion. That was an interesting game. Very, very unexpected end. I enjoyed it, honestly.